looking forward to match week 9 of the EPL. Let's start with the early kickoff. Newcastle in 13th, take on Chelsea in 5th. This one's your 8:30 p.m. tie. It's first match after the international break is always very difficult. You've got all these world-class players coming back from all over the shop. But you look at the quality Chelsea have, Des Corkill, and it's hard to see past that. I mean, I know Lampard's still trying to feel out his first 11, but what a squad, yeah?
You know what? I don't think he is trying to find his first 11. I think he's found it. He's got his spine, which was so important. I didn't like the fact the goalkeeper had to be replaced, Kepa, but Mendy's come in, added solidity. That back four looks really, really good. I read a stat that Kurt Zouma has won 96% of his aerial challenges this year, and he's the weak one, the centre. So I think Chelsea have got this real solid base, and then they've got so much creativity. Craig mentioned Mason Mount, but they've got Ziyech with that delicious left foot. They can afford to lose the likes of Pulisic through injury and even allow Havertz a chance to show his potential. You know what? They are a real challenge. Like the fact they fought their way to it, but my word, they've gelled very, very quickly. I can see them really being there or thereabouts at the end of the
Yeah, apologies, internet connections cutting in and out, but we get the gist of what Des is saying. They are a formidable side. Do you reckon, Craig, that's right, Frank has hit on his starting 11? There is solidity, there is a spine now?
Yeah, I agree with Des. I think he's found it. With Ziyech coming back and Werner obviously getting the goals. The only one thing is that Pulisic is still not fit. He tried to come back, got injured in the warm-up. So that is still a question mark. I think besides that, he's more or less got it. He's got it sorted. I know Tammy Abraham has been doing really well in the last couple of games when he started. But, Werner would move into that central position. And Pulisic will play on that left-hand side. I think Chilwell's been a great signing for them as well, with his assists, with his goals. And with what Des says as well, I think Thiago Silva he's found his feet. I think Kurt Zouma alongside him. I'm not a massive fan of him. You can't deny he's fantastic in the air, but I think it's still a weak area for Chelsea. I don't think he's the finished article by any sense of imagination. And on the right-hand side, Reece James has really come into it, the more games that he's played. I think he's found that spine. He knows his best 11. It's just accommodating, when there are injuries. I mean, there's still that question about Mason Mount, Jorginho, Kante. Do they play together? Do you drop one? But yeah, I think he's got enough. There's talk about a title charge. I still think maybe this season might be a bit too early. But the way it's going so far after 9 game weeks, or coming up to 8 game weeks, anything can happen. And if there was an open season, after 10 games, this would probably be it. I mean, no one's really taken charge of the Premier League so far, and put a claim to it that we're going to be the team to beat. So I think it's not out of the question for Chelsea to go on and win it either.
Yeah, I mean, both Des and Craig have mentioned a host of names, and the fact that N'Golo Kante is suddenly world class again. if you're Steve Bruce, Bob Holmes, yeah. It's been a mixed bag so far. I mean, okay, you've got Sam Maximan to run at him, but how would you approach this? Get John Joe Shelby to kick the heck out of everybody?
Something like that. That's what Jose Mourinho would do. I mean, very difficult for Steve Bruce this approaching Chelsea like this. I mean, it's at home, if that counts for anything these days, and they're just coming back from an international break, so that might level the playing field a little bit. But really, this is a mismatch, isn't it? On paper, it looks a mismatch. And I mean, Newcastle are halfway up the league. So it just shows what quality Chelsea have. And you talk about finding their best 11. I mean, these days you need to find your best sort of 13 or 14, don't you? And with all the games, because 11 is never going to sustain a run in the league, the Champions League, and the League Cup and the FA Cup to come. So yeah, I don't think this having this surfeit of players that Lampard has had has been such a problem at all. He's managed to keep them all. He's not shut anybody out. He's even allowed Giroud to play enough times for him to be picked by France. So, he's managed to just about keep everybody happy or, semi-happy in these difficult circumstances. So having all these players, I mean, Jurgen Klopp would love to have this problem, wouldn't he? Yeah. Right now. Yeah. I mean, where he's lost one centre-back after another on successive weekends, one top-class international centre-back after another. Now, no club can sustain that sort of casualty list. But there is talk that Fabinho might be back for Liverpool. So that's a good thing. But I digress. We're talking about Chelsea. Yeah. Chelsea... I think they could overwhelm Newcastle, quite honestly. I mean, such is the disparity in class. I mean, Steve Bruce will be very happy to get a point out of this.
I was just going to put it out and say, does anybody think Newcastle have a chance? But no, I won't even...
No big shout there, Ross.
Exactly. I won't even waste the airtime. I know there's some injury problems. Callum Wilson, there's a question mark. Or he's doubtful. Ryan Fraser, Paul Dummett expected to miss out. For Chelsea, Kai Havertz tested positive for COVID. Pulisic, as Craig mentioned, is out. So a few players missing, but then you've got Hakim Ziyech. So looking forward to seeing him play. I really love watching Hakim Ziyech. Yeah, Newcastle-Chelsea then is your early kickoff on Saturday, 8:30 p.m. One of the games of the weekend. Theoretically, the game that should bring us the most goals should be Spurs in second against Man City in 10th. This is your late Saturday game, 1:30 this one kicks off. Will it be a pragmatic Jose, or will he go all gung-ho, Des Corkill?
You know what? I think it's probably going to be a more pragmatic Pep Guardiola, because he's just trying to eke Man City back into a certain vein of form, whereas Tottenham are playing more attractive football under Jose. He's kind of, in my book, taken the blockers off Tottenham. So I can see Tottenham going out and trying to win this one, and Manchester City being a draw on the cards for me. But I just think City are slowly getting their mojo back after a run of 9 unbeaten games. But great game. Tottenham to go and try and win this.
Yeah, I disagree with Des there. I think Spurs have kind of come back into that pragmatic Jose Mourinho team that we know Jose Mourinho does. And this is after the West Ham game, when they were obviously 3-0 up and kind of squandered it at the very last second. Since that, he hasn't been as adventurous, as gung-ho, as you said, Ross. And they've eked out results. They've been a lot more solid defensively.
That 1-0 against West Brom.
1-0 against Burnley straight after as well.
Yeah.
It hasn't been free-flowing Spurs since that result. So I think Jose he played around with it a little bit. We saw the expansive Tottenham, but now after that West Ham result, he's kind of come back into it, and we're seeing still a talented Spurs side, but not a Spurs side that we saw earlier in the season where, they're willing to bomb forward and be creative and everything like that. So I'm expecting another pragmatic Jose Mourinho performance. Sit deep, hit them on the break when they can.
City are...
this is a renewal of the age-old rivalry between Pep and Jose, don't forget.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if any of that, that thinking will affect either manager's approach. It will be very interesting to see.
Isn't it? It's bigger for Pep, right? They're already 6 points behind Leicester. Now, they can't afford to... I know we're only 9 games in, but this is the title. City are supposed to be up there, right, Bob?
Yeah, well, Pep's just signed a new contract. I think that's worthy of mention. That'll be a boost to the club, staying for another 2 years.
So that means Messi will come in then in the summer.
Well, it's on the cards, isn't it? I mean, he was never going to come without, put it like that. And he doesn't seem entirely happy at Barca, does he? So, yeah. So I think City fans are quite optimistic. Getting back to this match, there's a possibility of Sergio Aguero being at least on the bench. It's amazing how these guys, they're out for months and years, and then suddenly, you go quiet a couple of weeks, and then they're back. Modern medicine. I think also clubs always go a little bit pessimistic when a guy gets injured. But if he's back, I think even if he only comes on as a sub, I think that's going to make quite a difference because they've missed him. City have really missed him. They're not scoring many goals, No.
Yeah.
I mean, normally they score goals for fun. For 2 or 3 seasons, they've been scoring goals for fun. Even last season when they didn't win the title, they still scored plenty. But this season they haven't. And I think one of the reasons is they're missing David Silva. They haven't quite found the sweet spot yet somehow. But Phil Foden, what the magic that he lacks that Silva had, he makes up for in goals. I think for a creative player, he actually packs in, he pops in quite a few goals, as he showed with England. 2 more again. I mean, the guy can score, and that is a valuable asset to have. And Pep has not been playing him that regularly. I think Foden, he was given crumbs, wasn't he, in the past 2 or 3 seasons, coming on with 2 minutes to go and this sort of thing. I think he thrives on a regular run in the team. And I think Pep has underplayed him. And I think if he should give him his chance and play him for a number of matches in a row and see what he can bring.
All right.
So I think City will probably edge this one.
Possible weak link for Spurs is that Matt Doherty's missing because of COVID. So Serge Aurier will probably be marshalling that flank. There you go, Pep. There's your game plan. Spurs versus Man City, Sunday, 1:30 a.m. kickoff. All right, Manchester United in 14th take on West Bromwich Albion in 18th. It's a Sunday 4 a.m. kickoff, this one. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side, Craig Marias, are still awaiting their first league home win of the season. I think it's 72-73 last time it got this bad. What are you seeing here? This should be, I mean, on paper, it's an easy home win. But you and I know we'll be lucky with a 1-0, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't explain to you what's gone wrong at home, to be honest with you. It's just been an absolute shambles for United at home. Very different when they play away. But, I mean, with no fans there and this, there's no crowd expectation on you. It's very confusing. I mean, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be scratching his head and trying to figure out what, because he plays exactly the same team that he does when he goes away from home. So it's a puzzling one. That being said, United do struggle against these teams that defend, but there's a lot of encouragement to take from that win against Everton. It was almost a must-win match, so it was built up to be that way anyway. Going into it, despite victories against Leipzig and PSG, but they came through that. They played really well. Defensively, I thought they were solid. Going forward, they were good, and they just need to do more of the same. You know what West Brom are going to do. They're not going to fly at you. They're going to go be compact at the back and hit you on the break. And I think this is where United need to be careful. Just to get their last Champions League game against Fenerbahce when they lost, it was one of those where they had all the possession, but it was again the team sat back, hit United on the counter, and you get a lot of success doing that. Yeah. And this is where Solskjaer has come out and he says, United needs to wise up. They need to be a little bit smarter, and they do, because it's easy when you have a lot of the ball to commit bodies forward, but you got to take care of what's behind you as well. So it's going to be a difficult. I do expect United to win, comfortably. I've seen West Brom play. I don't really. I think they're going to struggle this season. So there is always going to be pressure for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but this is he needs to get the home form up and running. So 3 points for United.
Okay, well, in theory anyway, but I've got to ask this because it's happened in midweek. In fact, it happens every international break. You see a Paul Pogba headline. This time it was, what a breath of fresh air it is to play for France. Now, Bob Holmes, if a player from your club shows that much disrespect to a player you're paying, over 250,000 a week to, how would you feel? And would you even have him on your bench this weekend?
No, I wouldn't. And don't think Alex Ferguson would either. He's been tolerated far too long. I think it's down to the agent, Mino Raiola, the whole business when he signed in the first place. Raiola caused a lot of problems, and he made it difficult for United to sign other players. And they're actually still living with this sort of dark cloud, if you like, of Pogba's agent. I think that's why he's not being disciplined as he should have been. I mean, it's outrageous what he gets away with off the field and on it. I mean, for such a talented guy, I memean, we say this every week. Everyone knows the story. He's underperforming massively in practically every game. And I just, it's beyond me how this can happen. A club like Manchester United, and the only explanation has to be the agent and all the contacts he has, and it would cause a lot of problems for United in the transfer market. But I think they just have to do it. They have to lance the boil and get rid of Pogba. And I don't think they're going to do anything until he goes, quite honestly. I think it boils down to that. I don't think he's a bad guy. He's not really a troublemaker in the classic old style, but his agent is the troublemaker. And I think there'd be a massive sigh of relief at Manchester United all around the club if Pogba were to leave. They've just got to sell him off at a knockdown price and get him out of their hair. And I think only then can you start the recovery.
I'm interested in hearing Des stick up for Paul Pogba now.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Tell you what, give me a Jake Livermore or a Cal Barkley or an Ajayi or a Gallagher over a Pogba 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, because you will get an honest performance from those West Brom players. They may not win. They may well lose. They may well become one of the worst teams in the Premier League, but there will be an honest performance from them. And you don't get that honesty. You haven't for 3 years from Paul Pogba in a Manchester United shirt. I've said it many, many times, and I can't understand how a club of United stature allow it to go on, as Bob alluded to. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't. He got rid of him. I think he saw the temperamental issues of however good you are. If your attitude isn't right, it just stinks the place out. And I've been saying that that's what it looks like. I don't know what the reason is, but that's what it looks like from a distance with Paul Pogba.
All right. Massive game then. Manchester United against West Bromwich Albion.
Relegation clash.
It's your late Saturday game. 4 a.m. Sunday, our time that one kicks off. Fulham in 17th take on Everton in 7th. It's your early game on Sunday. One player jumps out here, Fulham and Everton. Of course, ex-Everton player Ademola Lookman. He won't be doing the Panenka, Craig Marias. Should he even be given the chance to take another penalty ever again?
Well, I mean, if he doesn't take it, it's Mitrovic, and he doesn't do much better, does he, from the spot? So they're in a real bother there. I think Scott Parker will be praying they don't get any penalties at all. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see Lookman back playing. We knew the talent that he had when he was, I think he's from Charlton, if I'm not mistaken. Went to Everton, came off the bench, made an impact off the bench. But never really got that regular playing time. Went away to Germany, did well on loan. They signed him, but again, never really nailed down that starting 11 spot. He's come to Fulham, where Scott Parker has given him a new lease of life, playing regularly. He's talented. There's no question about it. He's small. He's quick. He darts in and out. He beats players for fun. He's got a good left foot, good right foot. He's got everything in his locker. He's just not a penalty taker. But I think this is going to be a good match. I really do. Obviously, Everton go into this as favourites. They've been fantastic. Richarlison could be back for Everton, which is a massive plus for them. They've really missed him when he's gone. I think the record without him is absolutely atrocious. But with him, I think every time he's played, I don't think he's ever lost or something like that. It's a crazy stat for someone who's been out of the club for about 2 years now. You'd expect Everton to win, but expect a gritty performance from Fulham and not making their life easier. But it's hard to ignore an Everton win.
Fulham will take heart from their last win so far. At least they've got a win under their belt. But Everton, they were early season favourites. We were talking them up. But now it's, one win in their last 5 in all competitions. Bob Holmes, Ancelotti now having to roll his sleeves up.
Yeah, well, he's been a bit unlucky, hasn't he? And as Greg said, Richarlison, a key man. I mean, he was suspended for 3 games, and they lost those 3 games. No coincidence. James Rodriguez was not quite the same without him, and also took a knock. I don't think Calvert-Lewin was quite the same, although he made a good fist of it. But he missed his Brazilian partner up front, although he did still manage to pop in a couple of goals. But I think him coming back is massive for Everton. And I think this game against most people's relegation favourites, or one of them, is an ideal opportunity to get back, to restore some confidence. Because starting like that, they started the season like a train, and some people are getting a bit carried away, and now they've lost 3 in a row, and as you say, they've won 1 out of 5. It's like, oh no, here we go, that kind of thing. But they're not like that. They're better than that, I think, and they just need, if they can take care of games like this comfortably, then they will be thereabouts. I think they're genuine contenders for a European place, not top 4, but Europa League. So it will be a step up from previous seasons. So they've just got to make sure they don't slip up in a game like this.
All right. Just before we leave off Everton, every time we read a report about an Everton loss, Jordan Pickford is always mentioned. Is he part of the problem there? I mean, does he have to alter his game? He seems solid enough for England, doesn't he?
I think Jordan Pickford's a very, very good goalkeeper who's going through one of those phases where things aren't working out for him. He's made a couple of high-profile mistakes, a couple of big-ish gaffes, but he's still relatively young for a goalkeeper. And he's much more than just a shot stopper. It's his organisation. He's a great talker. I love because he tries to organise things around. It's not a coincidence that Everton are doing well with a good goalkeeper behind them. The one thing about since one league, having won the games on the trot, they're finding out it's more difficult. The performances drop off once they've won the league as they thought they had done.
Oh, a little dig there from the red half.
That was lost, wasn't it?
All right, Fulham versus Everton, 17th versus 7 is your Sunday 8 p.m. kickoff. And we're back with Bob, Craig, and Des. looking at Arsenal, who are away at Leeds United this weekend. This one's your late Sunday game, Monday, midnight. This one kicks off. Let's start with Leeds first, Bob Holmes. They too, a bit like Everton. We were singing their praises at the start, going, oh, it's Bielsa football and all that. And fair enough, they're good value every time you watch them play. But consecutive 4-1 defeats now. Not to be sneezed at.
Yes, a bit of a reality check. They lost one earlier, though, also, and then they bounced back from that. This is 2 in a row. You could probably say the international break came at the right time. Sort things out. I'm sure Bielsa has been working at just as hard as ever. 12-hour days he puts in there, analysing everything. And some of the players have been working hard. Leeds wouldn't have had as many players leave for the far and wide for the international break as some clubs. And I'm sure that Bielsa would have taken advantage of that and had them working at the training ground. They do seem a little bit vulnerable at the back. I wouldn't blame the keeper. I think he's pretty good, but I don't think he has had much chance with many of these goals. But this will be an interesting test because Arsenal have also had a little bit of a reality check as well, haven't they? Or they did before the international break. They got hammered by Aston Villa at home, which really was a bit of a shock to the system. Everyone was singing Arteta's praises. So this will be very, very interesting to see. I still back Arteta. I think he's a great organizer of men, and I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds were looking at another defeat here, quite honestly.
Okay. Let's move on to Arteta's Arsenal. He has brought solidity to Arsenal, Craig, but is it at the expense of their attacking play? And also, I mean, everyone keeps asking this question. Why? I mean, I know Liverpool do it. Liverpool put their most potent goal scorer out on the left. But it works for them because they have a selfless number 9 who just sprays it wide all the time. So I'm talking, of course, about Aubameyang playing on the left here for Arsenal. Now, Lacazette is not going to be your Firmino, is he? He's not going to distribute and all that. Is that part of the Arsenal problem, you reckon?
Partially. I do think one of the main things Arteta needed to do when he came into the job was to sort them out defensively. And I think he's improved them. I don't think they're by anywhere near the finished article at the back. You know, I mean, as we saw against Aston Villa, there's still a lot of work to be done with them. I mean, you're still playing someone like Rob Holding in the Premier League, and I don't think he's quite up to Arsenal's kind of standard. Bellerin sometimes needs to be questioned about his defending. So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of personnel at the back for Arsenal. I think tactically as well, we give him a lot of credit, and I think he's done a fantastic job since he's been given the Arsenal job. But if you go back to that Aston Villa match, I mean, you're playing 2 defensive midfielders at home against Villa. I mean, was that the right thing? Yes, they did really well going away to Old Trafford the week before that. Managed to get the result that they needed. But when you come back at home, was that the right thing to do? I don't think so. I think he got his tactics horribly wrong there. And once you do that, it restricts, the players going forward. I mean, we see the amount of times during an Arsenal match that Aubameyang touches the ball. It's rare. He doesn't get on the ball enough for me. But then in saying that, even if he was, switched up to the more focal point in that number 9 position, they're not creating enough chances for him. Lacazette doesn't get enough chances as it is. So there's a lot of work to be done for Arteta going forward. He still doesn't know his best front 3, which is the worry. Aubameyang is always going to be in that team as captain and as their best player. But does Lacazette start every game? Does Nketiah start every game? Who plays on the right? Willian, Pepe, where does Saka fit into it? I mean, there's a lot. You've got Martinelli coming back. He doesn't know his best side going forward. And that, for me, is a big worry. Even in the middle of the park, Ceballos, who I think is their most creative central midfielder. Partey, obviously, with the big transfer fee and being the player that he is, will automatically get a spot there. But who plays alongside him? Is it Elneny? For me, it has to be Ceballos. It has to be, because he's the one with the vision. If you're not going to play someone like Ozil, he's the one with the vision that can open teams up. So this is something Arteta still hasn't. It hasn't really sorted out, and he needs to.
All right. It's going to be an intriguing game, that one. Leeds against Arsenal is a Monday, midnight kickoff. It is going to be great. All right, then, the biggest game of the weekend, arguably, is third versus first. Liverpool against Leicester City is 3:15 a.m. kickoff on Monday. Des Corkill, your Reds, your current champions, are in a defensive crisis at the moment.
2-3-5, I think, will be the reaction from Jurgen Klopp. He tends to attack problems rather than anything else. I'm expecting a 9-8 or an 8-7 with Alisson having to play man of the match as well. No, it's crazy, isn't it? Nobody would have foreseen the problems Liverpool have had defensively, not of their own making, although the 7-2 didn't help. But in terms of the injuries, and they were so not fortunate, but so consistent in their players last year that they were able to have a very strong back four with goalkeeper. This year, it's a toss-up. But the guys who've come in, be it Nat Phillips or be it Reece Williams, although we got an injury for England under 21s as well, or if Fabinho comes back, they know that if they can keep the opposition down to one goal, there's every chance that those front three without Salah, but those front three, though, will score more than the opposition. And that's the Jurgen Klopp way. He doesn't see problems. He sees solutions, which is one of the things that makes him such a remarkable coach. So, it's a worry, but I wouldn't over-analyze it. I'd worry if I was Leicester about Liverpool, what Liverpool might be able to do to you at the other end.
True. You got two sides with amazing attacks against two rather shaky, leaky defenses here. But, Bob Holmes, if you're Jamie Vardy, you're going to fancy this one, aren't you?
Yes, you are. I mean, on paper, this looks like the best chance Leicester will ever have of beating Liverpool at Anfield. But that's on paper. And as Des says, Jurgen Klopp can shuffle his pack and camouflage any weakness at the back in other ways. And he's got the players to do that. That's his greatest strength. Virtually everybody in that Liverpool side can play in another position. And it just needs a little tweak here and there. And the fact that Fabinho is close to coming back, I'm not saying he's going to start against Leicester, but he is in training. I think that's a massive boost because they were worried about him being out virtually till Christmas. And then with Gomez being out for most of the season, that obviously leaves a massive hole. But it looks as if they're going to be able to cover that up pretty soon. Jamie Vardy, yes, he's got the pace, but he feeds on scraps. He doesn't get many chances. He's a bit like Aubameyang. He doesn't get many touches, very few. I mean, it's great credit to him that he maximizes them. But no, I think that Liverpool have got the squad to handle this crisis. And they may not even buy anybody in January, you know. I mean, it was automatically assumed that they would, and they're always there in the rumour mill. Every centre half that's got a pulse, they seem to be linked with. But they know they'll have to pay over the odds. People will know that Liverpool, if they come after somebody, they really need to fill that hole. But they could probably cope without buying anybody if Fabinho comes back. So that means that this is not such a massive crisis. And if Thiago is also back, that's like having a new player. He's only played for about 90 minutes in total so far. We've not seen the best of him by any means. So this is not the disaster that many people think it is. That's why I still think Liverpool will win the league.
Unbeaten in 63 successive home league games. Their last defeat at Anfield was against Crystal Palace 3 years ago. Having said that, Craig, we mentioned Jamie Vardy, but Barnes, Maddison, Tielemans have all been scoring lately. Tielemans had a really good international break. I mean, like Bob mentioned before, this is Leicester City's best chance. But that a massive unbeaten home record, is that ever going to fall, you reckon?
Yeah, I'm actually backing Leicester to win this, and it's not just because of the crisis. Obviously, it plays a part, but like the boys have said, it's something that I think Liverpool can cope with. I do think there'll be some players that are listed in that list of injuries that will be coming back. I expect Reece Williams to play. So I do think that this Leicester squad has enough about them to go out there and really take the game to Liverpool. They smell blood. I mean, Brendan Rodgers would want to be the manager that goes there to do it as well. The script is there, isn't it? Brendan Rodgers going there, ending that unbeaten run for Liverpool. But no, I do think this is a good Leicester side. Whether they're good enough to sustain it is another question. But they're in a good bit of form now. And like you said, there's a lot of players that they have that have recently stepped up. Tielemans obviously during the international break. Maddison just coming back from injuries, a massive boost to them. Harvey Barnes this season is much improved from last. And I just think that they'll have enough. I do think it'll be a very, very good match, and I don't think it'll be a weakened Liverpool side as everyone seems to think. I mean, the way it's being played out in the press is that it's going to be a bunch of under 23s that are coming in to fill in the spots. No, Liverpool have a great squad, in fact, and they'll get a strong 11 out there, a squad with experience as well. So it'll be a good game. It'll be a very good game, but I expect Leicester to cause an upset.
Jamie Vardy has netted 7 times in 11 Premier League games against Liverpool. Liverpool versus Leicester is a Monday 3:15 a.m. kickoff. 2 games happening on Tuesday for you. Burnley versus Crystal Palace is the early kickoff on Tuesday, 1:30. That one, Burnley second from bottom. But we're going to focus on Wolves, who are 9th, taking on 4th place Southampton. Arguably, both teams are in good form at the moment. Who do you fancy in this one, Des Corkill?
Wolves. Southampton, I think, will eventually blow hot and cold. They'll be good fun, but I think Wolves have got a consistency emerging about them. They've gone through a couple of personnel changes, but they're a good team. They play a good style of football. Southampton, I think, might become a little bit win one, lose one as the season progresses. So Wolves for me, because the season really starts now. We're about 8 or 9 games in, and Wolves will be there in that top 6 at the season's end, I think.
Now, one weird thing with Wolves, Craig, is that Adama Traore has featured 6 times off the bench this season. I understand contract talks are going on at the moment. That may have something to do with it. That's going to make Southampton happy. But then that just means Podence and Neto will be running at you. But it's big, Adama Traore, right?
Yeah, he is big. Yeah, definitely. Just going on Wolves, it's not the same Wolves side that we're seeing from the last couple of seasons. And that for me is a bit of a worry. I think defensively they do well. But going forward, it's not the same fluidity, the same exciting team that we saw Wolves play in the last few years. A lot of that is down to obviously Jota leaving. Doherty, who was such an attacking threat for them, he's gone. Even on the left, defensively, they've made a few changes here. Their size hasn't been playing the last few games. I just feel there's something missing there. I like Podence. I really do rate him. But in terms of creativity, creating chances for someone like Jimenez, it just hasn't been done enough. And it reflects in his goals. He scored a few here and there, but we're not seeing that lethal Raul Jimenez that we saw, the one that was linked to all these big clubs. And that's because he's not getting chances. It's just as simple as that. So I think where Des goes for Wolves here, I'm going to go the other side. I'm going to go for Southampton. Yes, they're missing Danny Ings, but I think they might be able to do this. And I've enjoyed watching them play. They play good stuff going forward. Obviously, Danny Ings, you can't not miss his goals, but Che Adams has stepped up when he's needed to. I just feel that this is a good game for Southampton to go and really test that Wolves defence.
Yeah. Just to build on that, Bob, they were top of the table before Southampton. If Leicester, Spurs, and Liverpool lose, Southampton could end the weekend on top. If they win, of course.
Leicester and Liverpool both can't lose.
You have to be pernickety, don't you, right? But I mean, no. Basically, Southampton, Hasenhüttl, he's worth talking up.
He is. I mean, he was highly rated in Germany, wasn't he, before he came? I mean, not a high profile, but he was highly rated. Talk to anybody who knows anything about Bundesliga. So Southampton did well to get him, and they stuck by him. And I think he's getting the most out of a team that never spends much money, bloods youngsters. I think he's doing a great job, but it doesn't mean they're a force to be reckoned with. They're a bit of an in and out team, mid-table. Wolves, I think there is something a little bit wrong there. It could be down to the Traore contract situation, but Nuno does tend to underplay players somewhat. Even Diogo Jota was not an absolute regular, last season. I mean, he played most games, but he was not an automatic choice, which you find is a bit surprising. Liverpool pay 40-odd million for him, and he looks great, doesn't he? And a very versatile player. But no, he didn't start every game by any means. And Traore didn't either, although he started more than this time. And this idea of bringing him on, I mean, yes, he's great to bring on. I mean, you can see defenders' faces change color at the sight of him coming on. But why not play him from the start? I mean, if he's probably your main asset, or certainly in the top two primary assets that they have with Jimenez and him, and he's underplayed. And that I find a little bit difficult to understand, frankly. And I think maybe that's holding them back. I hope it's not just down to contract negotiations, but I suspect it could be.
All right. Wolves versus Southampton, Tuesday, 4 a.m. kickoff. Some of the ties we did not mention. Aston Villa against Brighton is a Saturday 11 o'clock game. Sheffield United against West Ham is Sunday 10 o'clock. And, of course, Burnley Crystal Palace is your early Tuesday game. Well, Tuesday 1:30 a.m. kickoff. And there we have it. That's your Matchweek 9 preview.